They raped an innocent woman on a bus and left her to die. Now, more than 7 years later, these men have been sentenced to death. But why do so many escape justice? I'm Maria Ramos, and today's newsmaker is the rape crisis in India. By the time you finish watching this program, a woman in India will have been raped. And she likely won't report it out of fear that it puts her life in danger. Every year, tens of thousands of women suffer from some sort of sexual violence, and most never see justice. The debate on how to tackle this emergency has been raging in Parliament. Critics argue the ruling BJP simply hasn't been taking the issue seriously enough. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he's accused of only condemning rape after a case makes international headlines. And even then, many say his criticism isn't strong enough. So what can be done to combat this crisis? That debate in a moment. But first, Haider Abbasi has this report.
It was a crime that shook the country, the gang rape and murder of Jyoti Singh. The 23-year-old was attacked by 5 men on a bus in New Delhi in 2012. The case triggered mass protests. Now 4 of the rapists have been sentenced to death.
Today is a very big day for me because we have been struggling for 7 years. But the biggest day will be on January the 22nd, when all of the 4 convicts will be hanged.
Following the outcry, India's government introduced harsher punishments for sexual violence. It also created special courts to fast-track cases. But after Singh's assault and murder, India remains one of the most dangerous countries in the world for women. According to data from the government, a woman is raped every 15 minutes. A report from the Ministry of Home Affairs shows 34,000 women were raped in 2018, and only 27% of reported cases led to convictions. Researchers say the actual number of assaults is likely far higher, as people are reluctant to report sexual attacks. So why is sexual violence so prevalent in India? Rights activists say crimes against women are taken less seriously, and police are accused of being insensitive to survivors of sexual assault. This woman said she was raped by her brother-in-law in the state of Rajasthan, but when she reported the crime, she said she was bullied into silence.
When I went to the police station, they would shoo me away, saying things like, "You're just pretending, you're lying, nothing has happened." After that, I would just come back home crying.
India is a patriarchal society where activists say women are treated as second-class citizens. But it's not just women. Children as young as 3 have been beaten and raped. It seems the low conviction rate and the slow court system are encouraging vigilante reprisal attacks. In June, police in the southern city of Hyderabad shot dead 4 men who had been accused but not convicted of rape and murder. The incident provoked outrage, but also celebrations. So what can India do to end its epidemic of sexual violence? Haider Abbasi, The Newsmakers.
Well, as you saw from the report, the number of women raped in India is staggering. So what can be done? Well, to discuss this, I'm joined from Mumbai by Shaina NC. She's a member of the BJP's National Executive and also a spokeswoman for the party. Deepa Narayan is in the city of Panaji in Goa, and she's the author of Chup, Breaking the Silence About India's Women. And in New York is Shruti Kapoor. She's the founder of Sayfty, that's the organisation that aims to educate and empower young women and girls against all forms of violence. Thank you, ladies, all of you, for joining us on the Newsmakers. First of all, to you, Shaina, why are things so bad. What is your government doing or not doing to tackle this, I don't even know what to call it, epidemic, crisis, cancer?
Well, I want to say that our government is extremely sensitive, especially Prime Minister Modi. If you recall, he made a huge speech saying that the women of India are the pride of India. We have campaigns like Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, where women are given education. The unfortunate part is you have a male misogynist mindset, which we need to fight in totality. So if you ask me, in a case like Nirbhaya, where a girl is raped and you have 7 long years before the perpetrators of crime are given a punishment, obviously there are few lapses in the system. What are the lapses? Number one, you need to have political will, where you have strong leadership that takes cognizance of atrocities against women and speak up as a priority issue. Second, you need to have a sensitive administration. When you have the police force where a woman goes to report a case of sexual assault or rape, she must be heard and heard in totality with sensitivity. The prosecution, which is the evidence after cases in the first 24 to 48 hours, is extremely important, because only then can you have a speedy trial. So the judiciary also has a role.
Okay.
But I think more importantly, we need to understand that India, the male misogynistic society where you believe that a man is superior to a woman or a woman is an object of lust or an item, needs to be done away with. And that can only happen with the family structure, where every single one of us speak up and speak up vociferously against atrocities of women as a priority issue and not as a secondary issue.
Okay. Deepa, I want to go to you. Do you agree with what Shaina has said there?
I would respectfully disagree with just about everything that was said. And I want to focus on the research and statistics. I'm not a politician, so I can present some of these numbers. First, I think the political parties, whichever political party forms the government, needs to set an example. In the last decade, there has been an 850% increase in the number of parliamentarians that have a crime charge, a rape or serious charge, crime against women against them. And this is true about every political party. There needs to be, if the government is serious about the rape crisis, it would set up fast courts that where justice travels at the speed of bullet trains, so that justice and crimes against women by parliamentarians who are supposed to be setting the example in the country sets a good example. Second, 99% of sexual violence isn't reported. So what is reported is just the tip of the iceberg.
Indeed.
94% of rape is committed by people known to the woman or the child. And yet in India, we don't have a marital rape law. I don't think we need new laws. We need better implementation, as was just said by Shania. But we do need one law that makes marital rape or rape within families a crime. Because the statistics show that sexual violence rates committed by husbands are 17 times higher than those committed by strangers. So in terms of a function,
Deepa,
judiciary, it's really, really important.
Okay, and I want to keep going with the judiciary and ask you, Shruti, because you're considered to be among one of the top 100 most influential people with regards to gender policy in the world, alongside Melinda Gates, Michelle Obama. What policy changes, let's say 3 policy changes, would you put to Shaina to implement in the BJP right now to change what is happening?
Absolutely. So the number one policy that needs to be implemented is a zero tolerance policy towards violence against women and girls. Like, one of my fellow panelists just pointed out, so many members of parliament, they have been accused crimes against women, and they are still in positions of power. And so what we really need for this government to show us that they have, when they say they have a zero tolerance policy towards crimes against women, they need to show it in action and not just words, which means if there are any members of parliament, if there are any MLAs that have any records of crime, they need to be taken off from their posts. The second thing that we can implement, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao is an excellent initiative, but I think it's just lip service at this point. Every day we are seeing, rapes happening in our country, and the government not being serious about. The government is spending crores of rupees in statues and in public monuments. And why have we never heard of the government spending crores of rupees towards women's safety? What has been their agenda for women's safety? How come they have not come up with a concrete plan for the country in terms of women's safety? Why is this so hard to implement?
Yeah, if I can just stop you then and ask Shaina to answer your question, Shruti.
So it's not as if the government has not spent or is not taking women's safety importantly as a priority issue. I do concede we need to have more representation in parliament where you have women taking up women's causes so that there is a certain sense of sensitivity. But the reality is we need to change our mindset in totality. And when I say mindset, that doesn't limit it to just the parenting family or a family where a boy and a girl are given the equal opportunity when it comes to education, or for that matter, if it is inheritance. Why is it that the girl is always discriminated against? Why is it that we as a society always only focus on a male child and want an heir apparent to be a male? All of this needs to be looked at in totality. Having said that, our politicians, our administration, and our judiciary are part of the society we live in. That's why I said that you need to have a collective consciousness of all three, where if there is an atrocity, yes, there is a lot of faith now where people come forward and register complaints, but there needs to be that sensitivity in the administration too, where there are fast-track courts by the judiciary to ensure that a case cannot drag for years and years. And we have done it in a BJP state. Then in Madhya Pradesh, we gave a death penalty and sentence in 6 months. So where there is a political will, there is a strong evidence and a strong case, I think that it is doable. Having said that, I don't think we should confuse marital rape with rape and atrocities against women, and especially assault, because India is a very large country. It gets extremely complicated. Right now, the focus has to be in change in mindset, where men speak up for women as much as women speak up for women. I want to see every mother talk about wanting a pota or a poti as a priority, as a healthy child. It doesn't have to be about boy and girl.
Can I just
that means a boy or
can
a
I
girl.
just
The
pitch
obsession
in
with
here?
the male
Yeah,
heir
go ahead.
needs to be done
Shruti.
away with in totality.
So my question for Shaina and the government is, why does the political will
It's
only
Shaina.
come in when there is pressure from the people? Sorry, Shaina, when there is pressure from the people, pressure from the world. Only when things get out of hand, when the world starts talking about these rape cases, do our ministers even take to, consider tweeting about it or even talking about it. Smriti Irani, who is the Minister of Women and Child Development, has stayed quiet on a lot of rape issues, has not condemned any of it. Only when it goes out of hand and it becomes a huge deal, when international media is covering, then we start taking cognizance of these cases, and we'll make some statement like, yes, I condemn violence against women, but that's pretty much all that they do. The government has been in power since 2014. What is stopping them from? I agree, there needs to be a mindset change. It is not just the government's responsibility, to provide safety for the citizens. There is more to it. But the government has been in power for the past few years, and what is really stopping them from implementing policies, from making changes happening, so that we can see these changes? It's not going to happen right away, but at least we need to see some positive changes happening at the grassroots level.
Okay.
And we are not seeing that, unfortunately.
I want to bring in Deepa. I don't know if you have any comments on what has just been discussed, but you are passionate about a subject regarding language, and you, Deepa, say this shouldn't be called women's issues. It should be called men's issues and then cultural issues. But how do we reframe that in India, if at all possible?
Right. We keep talking about women, but rape is committed by men. And I agree with Shania that we need to change mindsets, but that cannot be an excuse for government non-action. That cannot be an excuse for a judiciary where there are 3 million pending cases. That cannot be an excuse for lack of implementation of fast-track courts. That cannot be an excuse for a Nirbhaya safety fund in which only 9% of the money has been spent. So there's a visceral reaction every time there's a public protest to change some law or impose death. It's not going to save India's women or girls, and it has to be a big focus on redefining what it means to be a man. What does it mean to be a good man? What does masculinity mean in this day and age?
Shaina, your response to that, to Deepa?
No, look, the amount of people who have had the courage to come up and register cases shows you that they believe in the system. Prime Minister Modi is probably the only recent Prime Minister who we have had in every sense has focused on women as a priority issue and with absolute respect. I'm not talking about tokenism of a defense minister or a speaker or, in a party like BJP where 33% reservation in organizational posts is for women, which no other party has ever had. But I do want to say that, every time we question the system, look at India. I mean, it's 130 crore people and you have a male misogynistic mindset where women are viewed just as objects. I think that is what we have to be focusing on, and only then can you see all these changes. If we are otherwise going to just be in our own cocoon and believe that, everything will sort out on its own, it's not. It's not about spending money. It's about changing mindset. It's about bete ko sikhao, bete ko padhao. Teach your son to respect a woman.
Okay.
Teach your son that women and men are at par and they're equal. That is what we are fighting against, and that's what we should be speaking up for. And that's why you need more women parliamentarians. You need more representation where women's issues are priority issues and not just put below the carpet as a one-odd case. Nirbhaya was a case where everyone in the country and world over was tracking, but it took 7 long years and still we have a curative and a mercy petition at bay.
Okay.
We need to ensure that we make changes in totality. That is the political class. That is
okay. I want to change subject now.
I'd like to ask.
Okay, Shruti, yeah, reply to that, and then we want to talk. I want to talk about the justice system.
Sure. I quickly want to ask. Can you give us an example of one campaign or one policy that has been implemented in terms of changing mindsets other than Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao? What has been done towards changing mindsets of men? We talk about a patriarchal society and a misogynistic mindset. Please, can you give us an example from the government side?
Women have been given primary and secondary education. They have been given...
I'm asking about men. I'm asking about any policy that has been implemented in terms of changing mindsets of men, not focused on women and girls.
1 minute. Are you expecting the government of the day to be changing the mindset of every man in the country? Or are you expecting them to give incentives to families where girls should get X amount for studying?
Why not?
Standard, be given cycles, be given funds for their marriage and for their future and for their career options. This is the government that has given Mudra banking loans where 70% of the recipients are women. 70% of the recipients of all loans, whether it's Jan Dhan Yojana, Mudra banking, pension schemes, insurance schemes, are women.
I want to go to Deepa.
These are the incentives given by the government. You cannot hold the government responsible for mindset. That mindset has to be changed by you, me, and every single woman.
I'm not holding the government responsible. I'm just simply questioning what is the government doing towards changing the mindset of men also, since they are a big part of this problem. Everything so far has been focused on women and girls.
That automatically changes the mindset. When a woman is economically empowered, when she is earning money, she is automatically viewed at par. That is the first step. which we can do as a
Let's bring in
proactive
Deepa.
government. As far as society norms are concerned, you know
Let's
as
bring
well
in
as I
Deepa.
do.
Deepa, if you'd like to weigh in here very quickly with regards to mindset.
I think it's a very, very important thing for the government to do. Beti Bachao is a program of mindset change, and it has resulted even in changes in birth ratios in the state of Haryana. So let's not say that the government doesn't have a role. The government has a huge role in changing mindsets. The entire campaign of Swachh Bharat, the clean, Make Bharat Clean Again, has been a wonderful example of changing mindsets and bringing consciousness. So if there's a cultural problem from the parliamentarians down to the policemen, then it requires a mind change, because these are the very people who are responsible for implementing laws.
All right.
Mindsets are important, but it's the government's role in addition to our role.
I want to stop you there, and I want to end with an important subject. We've got 3 minutes to go. Justice. What should justice look like? Is it the death penalty? And we've seen very recently an extrajudicial killing in Hyderabad. First of all, very quickly, if you could answer in a minute, Shaina.
I think that death penalty in severest of severe cases is a must. If you take a case like Nirbhaya, and I'd like to recall what actually happened. This young girl was traveling in public transport, and you had 4 perpetrators of crime that not just gang raped her, they inserted rods into her private parts, they pulled out her intestine, bit her all over her body, then eventually burnt her and murdered her. In these type of cases, there can be no respite. It must be death penalty, and at the earliest, so that there is fear of law. If there are cases where the prosecution is not strong, obviously we believe in the judiciary. But for every rape case, if we don't have fast-track courts, we will continue to have the backlog that we do. Yes, that is a huge problem in a country like India, but we're working towards it. And I'm sure that our Prime Minister will announce at the earliest that this clemency and mercy petitions in rape cases is not possible, as has the President done. And I'm sure that we will be in a position to create such fear that what happens in Saudi, where people are not in a position to rape because they know the outcome of what happens
Let's go to Deepa now.
Will be the same plight in India.
Thank you. Deepa, is the death penalty the answer for the justice?
I think in the most extreme cases, but again, let's go to the numbers. The number of rapes with murders has increased in the last year by 31%. So what is happening is that women are not only being raped and girls are not only being raped, but then they're killed to destroy the evidence, to destroy the death penalty. So I think in exceptions, yes.
Exceptions,
but no.
okay.
No death
Deepa,
penalty.
we'll have to leave it there. Shruti, very quickly, 15 seconds, is the death penalty the answer?
Yeah. At an emotional level, yes, we all want death penalty for these rapists, but research has shown that death penalty has not helped in reducing crimes against women. And so it is not addressing the root causes of why these crimes are happening. And so there is no proof in showing that death penalty deters a rapist from raping. So yes, at an emotional level, you know, yes, but not on a grassroots level where things will change the reality for women in terms of safety.
All right, we'll have to
we
leave
need to address the root causes of what's happening in terms of crimes against women and girls.
Indeed, root causes. It's a very difficult subject, and one that will continue. Thank you, ladies, for joining us here on the Newsmakers on TRT World. Appreciate your time on a difficult subject. And that is all for this edition of the Newsmakers. But before we go, here's a reminder of that shocking statistic that about every 15 minutes a woman is raped in India. And this programme has been 26 minutes long. We'll leave you now with images from India where protesters are saying enough is enough.